Alright, hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Alexa channel. My name is Alex, and it's time to review the new MGMT album, Little Dark Age. So, MGMT is a modern neo-psych / pop band from New York. MGMT is famous for 3 songs chiefly, all of them off of their 2008 debut, Oracular Spectacular, and those songs would be Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, and Kids. Kids probably being their biggest hit ever. And I'm definitely a fan of those songs. I think that they're great songs, and I think that that entire album is a really great album, a really good debut. It's got a lot of influence from the Flaming Lips and a lot of bands like that, maybe a little Mercury Rev even. The members of the band comprise of 2 people, singer and multi-instrumentalist Andrew Van Wingarden, and keyboard and chief multi-instrumentalist, the one who does most of the instrumentation as far as I know, Ben Goldwasser. To most people, MGMT really hit it big in that 2008 time, having summer jams like the aforementioned songs like Kids and stuff. But to most people, MGMT kind of fell off after that. They released kind of a head-scratcher in terms of accessibility in 2010 with the record known as Congratulations. I won't make it a secret, it's my favorite MGMT record. I think it's fantastic. There's so much to it that is just amazing, and I just love everything about the record. I love the surf rock feel. I love the 4th track on Flash Theory. It's probably my favorite MGMT track to date. I really enjoy Siberian Breaks. Such a good song. And the rest of the record isn't a slouch either. Sure, it may be a bit more inconsistent than their first record, Oracular Spectacular, but the highs are higher and the lows are not that much lower than they were on Oracular. However, to people including myself, in 2013 they went completely off of the deep end with their self-titled record MGMT, which was a very strange neo-psych, weirdly produced exploration of just sounds and less song structures, catchy stuff, and more texture, which I can appreciate. I can appreciate a noisy, textury record. However, that record, it didn't go far. It didn't go far enough. If they didn't really commit to that sound, in my opinion. And when you don't commit to that sound and your songwriting isn't as there as it used to be, to me, it just made a not great record. Sure, there were some good songs like Alien Days, Cool Song Number 2, chiefly the stuff in the first half, but that second half is easily the roughest run in MGMT's discography, and I'd recommend it if you're a big fan, but if you're not, and especially if you've never listened to the band before, don't go to that one first. The thing that I think is kind of strange is people thought that Congratulations and MGMT were these huge like detours from their sound, but if you take a listen to Oracular Spectacular, aside from those 3 songs that I mentioned earlier, the rest of the record is kind of a weird departure into neo-psych. There's Fourth Dimensional Transition, which is just a bizarre, linear structured, 2-part, 2.5 minute long song. It's really good, but it's not exactly accessible or a radio hit. And there's stuff like Of Moonbirds and Monsters, which is basically just an art rock song. It's amazing. I'd recommend listening to the whole album. But they're not exactly pop hits, and it seems like this is the direction that they'd always wanted to go in. I would recommend that if you listen to their first album that you do tread carefully, though, because if you're just going in expecting those first 3 hit songs to come on, you're going to be disappointed. It's a great record, though. Do not get me wrong. It's a great record. It's just nothing like the hits. My point is, with this long intro, don't worry, it'll be over soon, I'll get into the Little Dark Age review, is that MGMT was never really a band that fell off, in my opinion. Sure, they changed their sound on every album, including on this album, but they were always weird, and they never really seemed that interested in doing those pop songs that became their hits. Like I said, most of their first album is not like Time to Pretend and Kids, and not even Electric Feel. When they started debuting singles for this record, Little Dark Age, I wasn't that surprised, though. Because like I said, they changed their sound every album. I wasn't really expecting anything different this time around. They even said so in a Twitter post that I'll try to find. If I can't find it, it won't pop up now. But when these singles came out, it seemed like maybe we were in for another good record. A return to form for the band. Not a return to the way that they wrote their songs, but a return to the quality that they made their first 2 albums at. because, like I said, they did have that misstep with the third, and while it wasn't bad, I didn't want another one of those records. The songs like Little Dark Age, When You Die, Hand It Over, Me and Michael, all of those singles, they hinted at another fantastic MGMT record. But did they pan out with the other 6 songs into a great record? In my humble opinion, MGMT's Little Dark Age is one of the best records that MGMT has ever made. Not only is it better than MGMT, it's better than Oracular Spectacular as well. And while I might prefer Congratulations just a bit over this record, it put a run for its money. This record is fantastic. Like every MGMT record, it has its issues, but by far, this is the most consistently great MGMT album to date. All over this record, you have a wide range of influences that MGMT has always pulled from. I can always hear some 60s psychedelic influences coming in, like early Pink Floyd, mid-60s, like 67 Beatles, 66 Beatles. The Flaming Lips, they've always had an influence on MGMT sound, and it's still, you can hear it here, but the most interesting thing that I found about this record was the influence, and what makes it different is the influence of 80s synth-pop like Tears for Fears, The Human League, Aha, and maybe even a little bit of some post-punk like The Cure, or even The Fall. For example, what I mentioned earlier, the fantastic song When You Die, oh my god. Like, I know I say like something like this in every review, but this is one of MGMT's best songs to date. It's easily, in my opinion, in the pantheon of their top 5 tracks. There is so much to this song, from the sublime production, which I didn't really mention this earlier, I kind of hinted at it, but last record, production was all over the place, it was disgusting, and I was scared that it was going to come back on this, but it didn't, and the production on this song in particular is incredible. I love the weird guitar licks that are all around the song, that are just kind of like swirling around it. I really love that synthesizer that pops in near the end of the song, near that outro, that just, it's not really easy to hear, but it completely tonally changes the mood of the song, and the lyrics of this song. Wow. Not only are the vocal melodies good, but what is sung is crazy. Some of the best MGMT lyrics I've ever heard. My favorite line being, "You said it twice, you said it twice." They kind of stick around this type of lyrical theme of repeating oneself, and they come off as really nasty, but in almost a cartoony way, but like a very enjoyably cartoony way. There's lines like, "I'm mean, I'm not nice, go fuck yourself," just stuff like that. It's so good. I love it. Go listen to that. If you don't listen to anything else from this record, go listen to that. I do recommend you listen to this record though. Don't take that as a reason to not listen to the record, because just because When You Die is probably their best song on the record, rest of the album's great too, and I'm going to talk about it right now. There are so many highlights on this record, but probably the most standout category, and probably the newest category of MGMT type tracks, are those 80s synth-pop tracks that I mentioned a bit earlier. Those probably being most prominently Me and Michael, James, and One Thing Left to Try. Then you have this weird song called She Works Out Too Much, which it's got great production, but it almost reminds me of You Want the Scoop era The Garden. Go check them out if you haven't heard of them. They're great. They're kind of post-punky, kind of 90s electronic influenced post-punk. It's really weird, but go check it out. They're really good. But the way that song sounds is just so weird for the band that I just can't help but love it, because they fit that sound so well. The weird synths that they use, the vocal melody, the weird workout tape-esque spoken word stuff, and the female singing vocals, the song just fires off as an opener flawlessly. Also, before I forget, the closing couplet of the album, which is When You're Small and Hand It Over, is easily the strongest closing I've ever heard on an MGMT record. Fought maybe only by the fact that the song Congratulations is the closing track on Congratulations, and that song is incredible. But the song before that, I'm not a huge fan of. So in terms of a closing couplet, like wrapping off the last 10 minutes of the record, they've never done better. Going back to the 80s synth-pop type songs, I want to talk about Me and Michael and One Thing Left to Try first, because they are very interesting songs for the record, because not only do they sound very, very good, not only are they major highlights on the album, but MGMT completely commits to the sound of the 80s on these songs. They're not only taking things like the synthesizers, the vocal stylings, and the instrumental palette of those types of songs, but they're using the production too, and it turns out amazing. it kind of makes them sound like they're long-lost relics from the 1980s, almost in a hypnagogic pop type way, which kind of makes sense considering Ariel Pink did work on a lot of this record with them, as far as I know and as far as the credits say. But in particular, out of those two songs that I'm mentioning, the best song is easily One Thing Left to Try, because it does completely commit to that sound, like I said, but it also is just a fantastic pop song. It's a fantastic 80s pop song. I don't know if it would be a hit nowadays, but it literally sounds like Andrew, the singer, hopping on a New Order track and just giving it the sweetest vocal melody. Like, it's so good. It's one of MGMT's best songs as well, and one of the reasons why I love this record so much. Like I said, When You Die might weigh it out a little bit, but One Thing Left to Try is just such a good song as well. They're in leagues of their own. It's crazy. Also, the weird low-pitched vocals on James, which is a little bit less of the 80s pastiche that those ran on. They still have the 80s style, and that one keyboard melody is so incredible that it kind of just makes the song. But the vocal melody is a lot more modern than those other two songs that I mentioned, so it kind of takes it out of that. But it's such a great song, and the low-pitched vocals, like I said, combined with that instrumental, are probably the greatest thing that I never knew that I wanted. But now that I've heard it, I'm glad I have it. This is just a testament to the production on this record, though, because the fact that these weird lo-fi-ish vocals can go on these sweet 80s melodies is just amazing. It's mind-blowing how good the production is on this record at some times. I'm pretty sure Dave Fridman, who did the last record and most of the Flaming Lips records, worked on it, but he really outdid himself here. Like, this sounds better than anything that he's done probably since Embryonic, and Embryonic is a whole different breed of album. Probably doesn't sound good in the way that most albums would sound good, but this one sounds good in just a sweet, well-produced, beautiful way. I could spend forever talking about the intricacies of James and She Works Out Too Much and how the production of them enhances them, but I would like to just say that, like I said, this is not a perfect MGMT record. It's a great MGMT record, but it's not a 10 out of 10. It does have its problems. So my problems with Little Dark Age lie primarily in two songs, TSLAMP and Days That Got Away. Sure, I've got minor problems with the other tracks, but nothing really worth mentioning in this video because of how minuscule the complaints are, so I'm just going to focus on those two tracks. First, Days That Got Away is one of the worst MGMT tracks that I've ever heard. It kind of strikes me as a combination of the song with Lady Dada's Nightmare, which I think I mentioned a little bit earlier. It's the second last song on Congratulations, and it's not terrible, it's not that bad. It's just kind of boring, and it's an instrumental. Which this song is kind of, it's got a little singing part but no real lyrics, it's just the title of the song repeated a couple times. But this also kind of sounds like it's combined a little bit with a song called Orphan of Fortune, which was the closing track to their self-titled 2013 MGMT album. It's so boring, it's so not memorable that it's just horrible. It's one of the worst songs in the genre, and it's probably the worst MGMT song ever. It almost definitely is, actually. This song kind of sounds like a combination of the two of those, and while it's definitely not as bad as Orphan of Fortune, it isn't even as mediocre, or it isn't even as okay as Lady Dada's Nightmare is, and it really, coming right in like the middle of the second half of the album, slows it down a bit, and if it wasn't for the last three tracks being so damn good, it would really bring this album down a notch. The production is leagues better, though, than Orphan of Fortune. I will give it that. Orphan of Fortune was just horribly produced. And finally, TSLAMP, which means Time Spent Looking at My Phone. Usually when I'm listening to an album, I don't have a problem with lyrics getting political or having a topic. Usually it ends up being great. I mean, I love To Pimp a Butterfly. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. But on the context of this song, the weird, snooty, hipster, I don't like to be on my phone attitude that this song has gets distracting, to the point where the admittedly catchy song that I like a lot in terms of the instrumentation and the melodies becomes I get distracted away from it. I don't enjoy it as much because of the lyrics. And while personally I am not on that side of the phone argument, I think that phones, while they definitely have their issues, Don't get me wrong. They've done way more good than bad. But my point is, I tried not to let that get in the way of my enjoyment of the song. But it was so force-fed into my throat that I was just like, no, it hurt the song for me. Like I said, kind of catchy song. I really like the chorus. I like the chorus a lot because you can't really understand what he's saying and it's just a great melody. But overall, it's one of the weaker songs. It's definitely probably the second worst song on the album and not one of MGMT's stronger tracks. Anyway, to wrap it up, I think that Little Dark Age is one of MGMT's best albums yet. It may not live up to Congratulations, like I said, but it comes very, very close, and it's a huge improvement over the mediocre self-titled album. Also, at 43 minutes, it does not overstay its welcome in the slightest. 43 minutes, 10 tracks, that's almost perfect for me. This is definitely my album of the year so far, do not get me wrong on that. And I know that it's very early in the year, but this album is really great. Not only is the production fantastic, the lyrics are fun for the most part, the songs are fun, the melodies are great. The 80s pastiche that they have on this record is pulled off phenomenally, and all of those elements combined together to the point where I have no problem giving this album a very strong 8 out of 10. Now let's just hope that they don't wait 5 years until they put out a new album like they did this time. And with that, that's going to be the end of this music review. I hope that you all enjoyed, and next week, which means today, the video should be going out on Friday, but you'll still be getting a review on Tuesday of the new Car Seat Headrest album, Twin Fantasy, which is a re-recording of their 2011 lo-fi album, Twin Fantasy. So be prepared for that. But yeah, so at this point, make sure you donate to me on Patreon if you want. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Show this video to your friends. Show this video to your MGMT fans. Show this video to MGMT if you meet them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya!